everybody, it's JetsCentral coming back with the NFL playoff predictions for this upcoming January, right? It's wildcard weekend. We got two AFC, we got two NFC. Let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into it, and we'll actually be bouncing from conference to conference here with the predictions. So let's start off with the first game up, the first game that's going to be played, really. It's a 4:30 start in Houston, 4:30 Eastern time, by the way. We got the Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans. Now, the Texans have had an incredible season. They're the higher seed. They're at home. Vegas actually has them as the favorite. Everybody's picking Houston. And then on the other hand, we have the Buffalo Bills, who they've had a quiet season, a quietly good season. It's kind of been low-key, stealth, under the radar, whatever you want to call it. Everybody seems to be shocked that the Bills are in the playoffs. But when you take a look at the body of work that Buffalo has put together, especially with the offseason moves that this team has made, right, with some solid free agent signings, some solid draft picks, this team is ready to go. This team is a playoff team. I don't want to hear the excuse that, the AFC is just weak and it's just a down year for the Chargers. It's a down year for Denver. It's a down year for Oakland. It's a down year for the Colts, right? I just feel like with the AFC, like everybody wants to give all the credit in the world to Houston and Pittsburgh and all these different teams, but when it comes to the Bills, it's just every single excuse in the book. So I'm looking at Houston, right? And this is a team that they have a lot of sexy pieces, right? They have the quarterback, they have a ton of running backs, they have all the wide receivers, they have a great defensive line, they have the coaching staff, Bill O'Brien, solid, really good offensive mind. They got Romeo Crennella at D coordinator and stuff. They're making trades like let's go get Laramie Tunsil. And they're doing all these different transactions. Let's go get not VH3 anymore. That was his Gator nickname, Vernon Hargraves. So Houston is not afraid to make moves. They have the explosive weapons on the outside. They have the running back stable. They have a young quarterback in place. They have their franchise left tackle. But Houston, I just feel as though they're pretenders, right? I feel like it's every year with Houston or not even every year, every week, it's like something different. It's like you can never really know what to expect. The consistency is just not there, whether you want to blame the O-line, whether you want to blame Watson, whether you want to blame Bill O'Brien. There's no consistency. I mean, this team 1 week can go out and blow the doors off of New England and Kansas City, and then come back the following week and look horrible against, random teams that you would think Houston would just kill. So they're a weird team. I don't really understand it, but they're at home. Again, they have superstars. Bill O'Brien has been here before, and this is a team that a lot of people have as a Super Bowl contender. I mean, they have pretty much all the pieces. They need a couple more pieces on the O-line. They need to get a little bit younger on the defensive side, in my personal opinion. Even though I think it's good enough to win now, I still think long term they could get younger and faster. But I think when it's all said and done, I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills in this matchup. I look at Buffalo. They're really, when you take a look at the Bills' defense, right? I know we kind of talked about the Houston Texans offense, the players and stuff like that. When you look at the Bills' defense, they have playmakers all over the field, right? They have two nice corners, Trey White, Kevin Johnson, who was actually a first-round pick by Houston, interestingly enough, a couple years back, who Houston eventually cut. Two safeties that fly around the football field, and Poyer and Hyde, that are not afraid to come up and hit you. They got a young defensive line, guys like Ed Oliver and whatnot. Their defensive line gets after quarterbacks. Okay, running the 4-3 system, Shaq Lawson has kind of emerged onto the scene. And then their linebacking cores with Milano and Tremaine Edmonds, who's one of my favorite players in the league. This Buffalo Bills defense, led by Sean McDermott, is no joke. They are ready. They will get after opposing quarterbacks, no matter if they're a dual threat guy, if they're a pocket passer guy, or if they're just a straight running quarterback. The Buffalo Bills defense will get after quarterbacks. They will stop the run. Now it's just kind of all a matter of the offense, right? What's going on with this Bills offense? Because everybody for whatever reason, I just can't shake this notion that everybody likes to pick on Josh Allen. I don't know if it's like the Wyoming thing, like he didn't come from a big school, or what it is really, but I just feel like people just kind of zone in and pick on Josh Allen, like, oh, he's inaccurate. But when you watch the tape, he does have numerous drops. He is putting the ball right on the money, and it's kind of been like that throughout his career. I think people are quick to look at the completion percentage and say, hey, this guy's inaccurate, whereas they're kind of referring to ball placement, even though I think completion percentage is more of a reflection on decision making as opposed to actual accuracy. So decision making is something that you can clean up as a coaching staff, especially having the extended time. Because everybody knows Buffalo, like that Week 17 game against the Jets, they weren't really whether they won, whether they lost, it didn't really matter. So you can kind of tell the Bills coaching staff, McDermott, Dable, Leslie Frazier, they had a lot of time to prepare for Houston. I think the Bills will come out victorious. They've had a ton of contributions from an organizational standpoint, the Buffalo Bills have done an exceptional job. Look at their free agent signings. Cole Beasley, John Brown, Mitch Morse, all contributing. Look at their draft, some of the guys that they've drafted. Ed Oliver, contributing. Devin Singletary, out of FAU, middle round pick. Dawson Knox, in games making plays. They are having contributions from everybody. Middle round guys, high round guys, free agent signings, old guys, younger guys. Even their guys that they picked last season are really coming into their own. Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, right? So this Bills team, they're a step ahead of the curve. I mean, they're the definition of trailblazers, right? They're doing it their own way, and they're having a ton of success. I really do think that Buffalo is ahead of the game. I didn't think that Buffalo would be this good this early. I was thinking more 8-8, 9-7, but they've exceeded my expectations. So I'm going to go with Buffalo. Houston has kind of disappointed in the playoffs, even though this is a completely different team. I just feel as though Buffalo's defensive line is going to be too much for the Houston offensive line, and there's a lot of Deshaun Watson supporters out there, and they'll say, oh, the O-line, like he gets sacked way too much. Yeah, the offensive line needs work for sure, but Deshaun Watson holds onto the football way too long. He tries to be the hero. He tries to extend the plays. He needs to know when to throw the football away. For that reason, I'm going Buffalo. I really think the defense is going to be stout. I think Houston's going to try to go over the top early on them. They might have some success with doing that, but really coming out of the second half, I think Buffalo. Frazier and McDermott specifically, they're going to make the halftime adjustments needed to win this game. So I'm going Bills on the road. Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings at the New Orleans Saints. Now, this game's actually on Sunday. I'm going to go with the Saints in this one. I mean, what are the Saints, right? When you are playing the Saints, you have to ask yourself this question. What are they? They are a team that is extremely well coached. They do not beat themselves. They're efficient. They put the ball in play. They control the ball. They don't turn the ball over. And they have leaders and playmakers on defense. Guys like Cameron Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis, right? Marcus Williams, all these different guys on defense that fly around the football field. So that's what the Saints are. And you have to play them in the Superdome, which is an extremely difficult place to play. I'm looking at Minnesota, a team that, I feel... yes, they've had an incredible season. Kirk Cousins has done well statistically speaking. The defense has done well. They've won a bunch of games. They're the wild card. They didn't win the division, but they're the wild card. So, good job. Great season by Minnesota. But I still feel as though, for whatever reason, still feel as though this Vikings team should be better. This team should be killing it and should be the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed. With this roster, with this coaching staff, you got the OC, Kevin Stefanski, getting head coaching interviews. He was the runner-up last season for the Cleveland Browns. Mike Zimmer is a well-respected defensive mind. I'm looking at this Vikings team and I'm saying, why aren't they better? Why aren't they better? They should be blowing teams out. Really, the only times I feel like the Saints ever lose games, especially in the playoffs, is when they're getting gypped out of a call like last year, or it's some miracle play, ironically enough, the Minnesota Miracle that happened 2 years ago. So the Saints, I think, are on a mission. I think the way the Saints play as well, just highly efficient. Drew Brees is not. You never see Drew Brees go 9 of 24 or any weird stat lines. It's always 21 of 25, 17 of 19, 32 of 43. Right? He's always completing a lot of passes. He's putting the ball in play. The Saints control the time of possession. For the majority of the season, the Saints offense is dominant. The Saints offense is usually the best offense in the league, on the field, really, and they have a number 1 wide receiver in Michael Thomas. They got Alvin Kamara. They have a ton of different players on offense that you can kind of distribute the football to. Ted Ginn, as old as he is, he's still out there making plays. They got players. The Saints will be fine. Sean Payton will prepare. And I feel like for this season specifically, they're going into this postseason with kind of this underdog chip on their shoulder, as opposed to the last couple seasons where yes, they've been dominant, and yes, they've been really good throughout both seasons, but I feel like this season specifically, everybody knows the time's coming for Drew Brees. Everybody knows the time's coming for a lot of these different players. How long will Sean Payton be in New Orleans for? I think there's kind of a fire lit underneath them, and I really think they're going to take the Vikings just by storm. And they're just going to try to put them out of their misery quickly. I think if you could put Kirk Cousins in a uncomfortable situation early on where he's kind of forced to throw and you could drop back, just a lot of nickel defenses and whatnot, just have a lot of guys dropping back in zone, and you're making Kirk Cousins check it down and check it down and check it down when they're down early in the count, right? If the Saints could get up 14-0 or 17-3 early, I think the Saints have pretty much got it. I don't see a Minnesota comeback if the Saints start off fast, so I'm going New Orleans. Next up, Tennessee Titans at the New England Patriots. This is a game right here where if Ryan Tannehill, as crazy as this sounds, if Ryan Tannehill does not turn the football over, the Titans could win this game. I mean, the Patriots are the Patriots. They've won a ton of games. They got the best coaching staff in the league. They got Tom Brady still playing decently well. I'm not going to say great. I'm not going to say good. I'm going to say a little bit above average. He's not like some mediocre, like bottom of the barrel quarterback. I mean, he's not put up Tom Brady-esque numbers this season, but he's still respectable, and with every game comes a new set of challenges, and Tom Brady has been there and done that before, right? How many playoff games has Brady performed in, especially at Gillette Stadium? So I'm looking at the Patriots team, and this is a team that has lost to Houston, has lost to the Chiefs. They've lost to Baltimore. I mean, this is a team that kind of loses to the top dogs of the AFC. Against the Buffalo Bills, they've struggled. I mean, that Week 2 game, I think it was Week 2 or Week 3, the Bills you can make the argument that the Bills could have beat them if it wasn't for a blocked punt and then Matt Barkley coming in for, I think, like the last 10 minutes of the game. I mean, they only won that game by 6. And they had a lot of things kind of breaking in their favor. So New England is obviously not the same team as they were in recent years. But I'll tell you what, I mean, the defense is lights out. The defense is way better than it has been, and I still don't want to count out New England because they still have the best game planner in the league in Belichick, and McDaniels is really good at the at game planning and kind of preparing for a team, finding out what teams are good and what they're bad at, and kind of attacking their weaknesses. Belichick has done pretty well against his disciples, right? Guys like Patricia, and even though Brian Flores had his number this season, but whether it's just kind of throughout history, like Eric Mangini and stuff, I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one. Although I do like this Tennessee Titans defense or team a lot. They were actually one of my surprise teams of the league. I posted a video before the season. My 3 teams were Baltimore, Tennessee, and Green Bay. All 3 teams made the playoffs, so I'm pretty pumped up about that. But I like this Titans defense. They really know how to suffocate offenses. When you watch them on tape, they really flock towards the football. They don't really have a lot of guys that are afraid of contact and kind of shy away. Everybody's flying around. Everybody knows where the football is, and it's kind of like heat-seeking missiles all across the field. And then the Titans' offense, it's can they run the ball, and can Ryan Tannehill not lose the game? Kind of the same kind of philosophy that the Jaguars had, when they were in the playoffs a couple years back playing the Patriots. Can they run the ball? They will play good defense, but can Blake Bortles not turn the football over? Can Ryan Tannehill not turn the football over? Just hit a couple big plays, convert on third down, try to control the clock. If not, that's okay. Just win the turnover battle. Your defense is going to play well, okay, because the Patriots offense does kind of sputter, but at the end of the day, it's almost one of those things with Mike Vrabel specifically where it's like what can go wrong will go wrong with him. And he's just like just like the Houston Texans. They're a team that can go out and beat the Saints and beat the Patriots a season ago and beat and compete with these top level teams, but then the next week come out and just get 6 points, get 9 points. And it's just like a complete dud. I expect this game to be a lot closer than what people are expecting. I'm as much as it pains me, I'm going to take New England. Uh, Although I just want to make it known. I just want to say, if Ryan Tannehill has a clean game, maybe a touchdown pass, no picks, no fumbles, and they're converting on third down. Or I'll say this: if they win the turnover battle and they win the time possession battle, I think the Titans will win this game. But I think those things are hard to do in Gillette Stadium, so I'm going Patriots. Patriots in this one for sure. So final wild card game, we got the Seattle Seahawks at the Philadelphia Eagles. Excuse me. This one's tough, man. This one's actually the toughest game to predict out of the four, because with Philly, you don't really know what you're gonna get. They're kind of injury riddled, but they do play really well at home. They have stepped it up over these last 2 weeks, getting two huge division rivalry wins. But I think at the end of the day, Seattle is, and even with the injuries, this is how crazy it is. Even with the injuries, you could still make the argument that Philly has the better overall roster than the Seahawks, as crazy as that is. I mean, guys like Malcolm Jenkins and, all across this defense, Vinny Curry, Malcolm Jenkins, Vinny Curry, Fletcher Cox, right? They got players all across this team, even though they're all hurt. And Carson Wentz, I do think he's kind of dipped off in his performance. I don't think he is the same quarterback. I think the injuries have kind of caught up to him a little bit. But I think what this game's going to come down to is Pete Carroll's secondary. I think it's going to be Pete Carroll's secondary. If Wentz cannot throw the ball, if he's not having success through the air, which I think it will be a huge... I think Pete Carroll is kind of that cover 3 zone defense that he loves to run. I think that's going to be a huge, huge key in this whole entire thing. Because if they can cover, Wentz will hold on to the football. He has a tendency to play that hero ball, to try to extend plays, to try to pick up first downs with his legs. But when you have a beast and Bobby Wagner in the middle of the field kind of patrolling and kind of managing everything that's going on, I really like Seattle in this game. Even though I think this game's going to be close, I think it's probably going to be low scoring, because I do have a lot of faith in the Eagles' defensive line to be able to stop Seattle's run game, even though they did pick up Marshawn Lynch. But at this point, who even knows what's going on there? I'm gonna take the Seattle Seahawks. I think it's gonna be low scoring. I'm gonna say 20-13 Seattle. I just think their defense is going to be a little bit too much. Their secondary is going to be a little bit too much for Philly. I think there's no chance Philly can go over the top on this team. It's going to be a lot of Wentz kind of going through his progressions and not being able to know where to go with the football, and then him trying to pull it down and run. But I think the linebacking core of Seattle